There's a coordinated global policy push for digital IDs as the new form of government-issued identification credentials on your biometric data, which can be your fingerprints, your face, the iris of your eyeball. And the idea is essentially to collect all of that data and have it housed or have it tied directly to your digital ID. So your physical ID will be mapped to the digital ID. Digital IDs are not really a separate project from CBDCs and this new digital financial system. And this new digital financial system. And UN documentation and also documentation from the Bank of International Settlements, they very overtly state that CBDCs and digital IDs are meant to go together, and that CBDCs and digital IDs are meant to go together, and that CBDCs and digital IDs are meant to go together. And without digital IDs, the CBDC digital finance system cannot exist. One of the reasons it can't exist without that is because of the KYC functionality built into this digital financial system, They have the know your customer protocols. They have to know who you are. And so they want to have your wallet tied to a digital ID and have that digital ID be mapped to your physical ID through the biometric data collection. So there's different efforts to make digital IDs either as NFTs, non-fungible tokens. There's also the efforts of Sam Altman of OpenAI and his WorldCoin project, whereby you scan your iris, you give them the biometric credentials of your eyeball. They give you a unique identifier, a digital ID, and it's inherently tied to a digital wallet. A digital ID, and it's inherently tied to a digital wallet. A digital ID, and it's inherently tied to a digital wallet. That is the same model the UN is using. They've already implemented it for refugees getting food assistance from the World Food Program. It's called Building Blocks. It's on blockchain. It involves refugees scanning their irises, and in order to buy food or receive their rations, they have to check out of a grocery store style place in the refugee camp, and they check out biometrically with an eyeball scan, and then the amount of food they have, the monetary value of that is subtracted from their digital wallet connected to their digital ID, digital wallet connected to their digital ID, digital wallet connected to their digital ID and their iris. So ID 2020, the UN and other stakeholders in this particular sphere often argue that the reason this is necessary is because of what they call the identity gap. And the identity gap is the claim that the lack of digital ID is preventing people, mainly the world's poor, from accessing essential services, whether it's banking, whether it's education, whether it's healthcare. They claim the only way for these people to be able to access these services is to onboard them to these identities.
Shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakor Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders at Great Millstone. Shalom to the hopeful elect. All right. Now you have this woman speaking on the digital ID and the CBDC, all right, being made to go hand in hand with one another. All right. The digital ID being a prelude or a precursor to the actual M.O.T.B, which will be the new financial system. They're meant to go hand in hand, as she, said multiple times in this clip. All right, the digital ID is the foundation for the M.O.T.B. It's Esau. He moves in increments and gradualism, as I've stated before, to get the people ready. He's not just going to spring it on you. He, as I stated, moved in increments. So this is how you know, or another, what do you want to say, more evidence that the M.O.T.B is the implantable device, and the digital ID that's being pushed and made mandatory over there in the UK right now is just a prelude or a precursor to the actual M.O.T.B. All right. A prelude being an introductory performance, action, or event preceding and preparing for the principal or a more important matter. All right. The introductory performance is, the introductory performance, action, or event is this digital ID being made mandatory over there in the UK right now. All right, this is how they're introducing it. All right, and preparing for the principal or a more important matter, which will be the M.O.T.B being presented and being made mandatory. And you have people who have it now, you know, and say the same thing over and over in this series. The forehead, it's more of a medical thing as they really push paraplegics being healed and being able to communicate with computers. More of a medical advancement. But you have people now who have the M.O.T.B in their right hand, as it states in Revelation 13:16. They have it right now. You can go, whether you're on TikTok or YouTube, you go on these, you just search it and you see people scanning their hand and buying things. Now, these people who have it now probably just think it's something cool, new technology, and it's another, technological advancement of Esau. But in fact, that is the M.O.T.B that is being referenced, in Revelation 13:16. The digital ID is the prelude, man. All right, a musical section or movement introducing the theme or chief subject or serving as an introduction to an opera or oratorio. All right, if you listen to this music, okay, an artist will have the first song will be called the Prelude. All right, an opening voluntarily a separate concert piece, usually for piano or orchestra, and based entirely on a short motif. All right, this is going into the music aspect of it, but it's something that comes before the real thing or what's really being pushed. The first song of the album is the prelude, and then you go into the album. If you're familiar with Jay-Z and his musical discography, if you ever heard the Black Album, the first song on there is called the Prelude. Before you actually get into what is being presented, which is the rest of the music. This is what they're doing with this digital ID. It's the prelude. Going to the word precursor. One that precedes and indicates the approach of another. The digital ID is indicating the approach of the M.O.T.B, the implantable device. A substance, cell, or cellular component from which another substance, cell, or cellular component is formed. The M.O.T.B is the cell. All right, pardon me. The digital ID is the cell or the component which from another substance component is formed. The damn digital ID is that as it pertains to the coming of the M.O.T.B. You have the synonyms of precursor, which is an ancestor. An ancestor comes before the next generation of things. An archetype being, the original component before, what is made is really formed. All right. Archetype is the original pattern or model of which all things of the same type are representations or copies of. The digital ID is the archetype for the M.O.T.B, the implantable device that's mentioned in Revelation 13 and 16. Another definition of archetype is a perfect example. The digital ID being a perfect example of what's coming as far as the implantable device, which is the M.O.T.B. All right. As I go into more of these words that are synonymous, a predecessor. All right, predecessor is just one that precedes, meaning comes before. You know, a person who has previously occupied a position or office to which another has succeeded. In this case, just being the devices, the digital ID being you know, previously occupying a position to which another has succeeded, which the M.O.T.B will succeed the digital ID. All right, you go into the word prototype, an original model on which something is patterned. The original model being the digital ID, which the M.O.T.B will be patterned after. An individual that exhibits the essential features of a later type. The M.O.T.B will exhibit the essential features of the digital ID. A standard or a typical example. The digital ID being the standard or a typical example of what? The M.O.T.B. A first full-scale and usually functional form of a new type or design of construction. The new type of the digital ID will be the M.O.T.B. All right, you got the word ancestor, which we know. I believe I said that earlier, but ancestor. All right, you have a forerunner, which a forerunner is one that precedes and indicates the approach of another. The M.O.T.B is going to be that latter end of it. You have the word, as I spoke on ancestor, descendant, moving or directed downward, proceeding from an ancestor or source. The M.O.T.B is going to proceed from the source of the digital ID. All right. This is going to be the new payment system, as mentioned in Revelation 13 and 16. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. And we know the word mark in this verse is a charagma, which a charagma is a cutting into or an incision. That's how you know it's going to be implanted within you and be the new payment system. And just look it up. Go look up device in hand or chip in hand or some shit like that. It's all over the place. I ain't lying. And this video may be because I see the TikTok app is cracking down on, speaking about the digital implant or the implantable device. So this may be categorized as misinformation, but you just go look it up. There are people on the world right now with the implantable device within their hand buying and selling, or buying, because they're going to put the pressure on these companies to only accept this form of payment. You're not going to be able to run no business and say, well, we're not doing that. We're going to take cash and credit cards. It's not going to be an option. And he calls if all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. So no matter what level of society that you're on, as I speak on, financial levels, you're going to be presented with this device. It says, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. You're not going to have no trade into the system if you don't take this. And the resistance will be, as I've mentioned before, the hopeful elect. Those who are not going to bow down, and some men some men will be martyrs in this truth. But knowing not to take this device, praying that Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, put the spirit on you not to take this device, because it's not going to be of you. It's not your inner strength or nothing like that. Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai got to put the spirit on you to not take this device. You ain't going to be able to buy food. You ain't going to be able to get a job, get a car. Having a little gig, I guess, is essential in this place to get money, to have a trade into the system. You ain't going to have nothing but your faith in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, that he will protect and deliver you. Lord willing, you be the elect. But I ain't going to hold you. Hope that video was edifying. Shalom.